The squad cars rolled up to my driveway like they were raiding a cartel hideout. 3 of them, sirens blaring, lights flashing, that aggressive red and blue rhythm that makes every curtain in the neighborhood twitch open. I stood there in my cargo shorts and flip-flops, still holding my garden hose, a slow stream of water dripping onto the concrete. The lead officer stepped out, hand resting casually on his duty belt. "Sir, we received a call about threats made regarding pool access." "Are you Ethan Morrison?" I blinked, genuinely baffled. "That's me. The only threat I've made today was to my tomato plants if they don't start producing soon. And that's when I saw her, Beverly Hutchinson, the self-appointed empress of the Maple Ridge HOA. She stood behind the officers, armed not with weapons but with color-coded binders. The covers read in bold Arial font, "Pool access violation, evidence of hostile non-compliance." She puffed herself up like she was giving a press conference. "He threatened me with legal action when I tried to implement community pool sharing protocols," she declared, in that carefully practiced voice, the kind that made you wonder how many times she'd rehearsed it in front of her bathroom mirror. The lead officer looked at her, then at me, then back again. "Sir, did you threaten this woman?" I kept my tone calm. I told her she couldn't use my private pool for her water aerobics class. That's all. What Beverly didn't realize was that she'd just called the police on the one person in Maple Ridge she really shouldn't have. A guy who'd spent 15 years as a municipal contract lawyer specializing in property disputes. This was about to get very interesting. "My name's Ethan Morrison. I'm 38 years old. 5 years ago, I left a high-paying position at a major law firm to start my own practice, focusing on property law and zoning regulations. Business was good. Good enough that I bought my dream home on Sycamore Court, in the heart of Maple Ridge. The house had everything I wanted: 4 bedrooms, a remodeled kitchen, mature trees, a quiet neighborhood. But what really sold me was the pool. It wasn't just any pool. It was a gorgeous, kidney-shaped retreat with a rock waterfall, underwater LED lights, and most importantly, total privacy, hidden behind a 6-foot fence. And just to be sure, I'd checked the property deed 3 times. It specifically stated that all pool facilities on my lot were private amenities, not subject to HOA oversight. I even had another lawyer friend double-check it. That pool was mine, and no board, committee, or HOA queen could say otherwise. Then Beverly Hutchinson moved in, 6 months after I did. Within 2 weeks, she'd staged what my neighbors still call the coup of the chrysanthemums. She accused the previous HOA president of mismanaging the flower beds at the entrance and somehow got herself elected in his place. From that day on, she ruled Maple Ridge like a queen without a crown, handing out citations for lawns an inch too tall, inspecting mailbox angles and emailing reminders about fence paint shades. For the most part, I stayed under her radar. My grass was trimmed to code, trash cans hidden, and I even joined the annual Christmas lights contest. But everything changed the day Beverly discovered my pool. It happened during the neighborhood summer barbecue. She accidentally wandered into my backyard and stopped dead in front of the waterfall. "This is magnificent," she said, her tone full of admiration and calculation. "The community would benefit greatly from access to such amenities," I smiled. Good thing I love sharing and the view, that is. From outside the fence. That was 3 months ago. Since then, Beverly's campaign to claim my pool had gone from petty to personal. It started small. Little comments at HOA meetings about underutilized community resources and the spirit of neighborly cooperation. Then came the letters. Each one looked more official than the last, urging me to open my pool for scheduled community wellness hours. I responded politely but firmly, citing the property deed and relevant state laws. Every reply seemed to make her angrier. A week before the police showed up, she actually posted a sign on my gate. "Community pool hours, 10 a.m., 4 p.m. Monday through Friday." I tore it down and replaced my lock. She didn't stop there. She mailed out neighborhood surveys, asking if residents supported equal access to all aquatic facilities within Maple Ridge boundaries. The way she worded it, most people thought she meant the actual community pool. When 60% said yes, she declared she had a mandate. The morning she called the cops, I caught her on my security camera at 6 a.m., measuring my fence with a tape measure. When I stepped outside to confront her, she claimed she was conducting a safety inspection for insurance purposes. I told her to leave my property immediately or I'd pursue legal action for trespassing. Apparently, those words, legal action, were the magic trigger. To Beverly, being threatened with lawsuits was the same as being threatened with violence. And so, she called 911. Now here I was, 3 squad cars in my driveway, Beverly waving binders like courtroom evidence. I stayed calm. Years in law had taught me one thing. Losing your cool never helped, especially with cops involved. Officers, I said, setting down my garden hose. I have security footage of this morning's incident. Would you like to review it? Beverly's face turned the color of overripe tomatoes. That's not necessary, she snapped. I've documented everything in these binders. The lead officer, Sergeant Davis, according to his name tag, flipped open one of her binders with an expression of quiet suffering. Ma'am, these appear to be HOA newsletters and pool party flyers. Context, Beverly barked. It's all about context. Page 47 shows community support for pool access expansion. I simply unlocked my phone. Sergeant, I said, here's the footage. As you can see, Ms. Hutchinson entered my property without permission at 6:07 a.m. We all watched as the footage played on my phone screen. Beverly creeping along my fence line, tape measure in hand like a thief casing the perimeter. The audio captured everything clearly, me calmly asking her to leave, warning her that trespassing could result in legal action. My voice never raised, my posture never shifted. I stayed cool, controlled, just like a man who knows he's right. Sergeant Davis folded his arms and looked unimpressed. Then he handed Beverly's binder back to her. Ma'am, he said evenly, threatening legal action for trespassing isn't a criminal threat. It's exactly what a property owner is supposed to do. Beverly's face flushed crimson. But he's hoarding community resources. That pool could serve 20 families. The sergeant glanced at me. Is it a private pool? Yes, I answered simply. Then it's not a community resource. Beverly's mouth tightened. She wasn't done. She reached into her tote bag and produced another folder. I have documentation, she declared, that suggests the original property lines were drawn incorrectly. His pool actually extends 2 feet into the HOA common ground. That was new. My lawyer instincts flicked on like a switch. May I see that documentation? I asked. She clutched the folder to her chest. It's official HOA business, Sergeant Davis extended his hand. Ma'am, if you're alleging a property line dispute, we need to see the evidence. Beverly hesitated, then handed it over with a reluctant sigh. The blueprints inside looked official. County stamps, neat lines, professional formatting, but something about them felt wrong. I studied the details, brow furrowing, then opened the county recorder's website on my phone. Sergeant, I said slowly, these blueprints have been altered. Look here. The date stamp says 1998, but this font wasn't used by the county until 2005. And this surveyor's license number? It belongs to someone who died in 1994. The sergeant squinted at the pages, his expression hardening. Ma'am, he said, did you create these documents? Beverly's mouth opened and closed like a fish gasping for air. I may have enhanced them for clarity. Enhanced? I repeated, struggling not to laugh. You forged county records. I corrected obvious errors. She snapped. That pool is too nice to be hoarded by one person. Sergeant Davis spoke into his radio, requesting a detective. The other officers began photographing the forged paperwork. What had started as a petty HOA call was now quickly turning into a criminal investigation. Miss Hutchinson, Davis said formally, forging government documents is a felony. You have the right to remain silent. This is ridiculous, Beverly shrieked. I'm the HOA president. I have executive authority over all neighborhood amenities. I folded my arms. That's not how property law works, I said quietly. While waiting for the detective to arrive, I gathered my own documentation. The original property deed, verified blueprints from the county, and Beverly's escalating series of letters and emails about my pool. I also showed them notifications from my security system proving she'd flown a drone over my backyard to take photos. When the detective showed up, Beverly doubled down. She admitted she'd enhanced the documents, but insisted she was correcting historical mistakes for the good of the community. Then, incredibly, she confessed to installing a hidden camera aimed at my pool for safety monitoring. That tacked unlawful surveillance onto her growing list of offenses. The detective calmly explained she'd be receiving a summons for multiple felony charges, forgery, filing false documents, and invasion of privacy. "You can't do this," Beverly cried as officers escorted her back to her house to seize the surveillance equipment. "I'm trying to build community. He's the selfish one." That evening, an emergency HOA board meeting was called. Word of the incident spread like wildfire through the neighborhood group chat. By the time I arrived, the community center was packed wall to wall. Beverly sat at the head of the table, pale but defiant. "I move to invoke Article 15 of the HOA Charter," she declared. "Presidential immunity for actions taken in good faith for community benefit." Harold Garrett, the board treasurer, adjusted his glasses and sighed. "Beverly, Article 15 covers emergency landscaping expenses, not felonies." "It's a gray area," she shot back. I rose from my seat in the audience. "If I may address the board, I'd like to present some information." Beverly pounded the table. "You have no standing here. This is an HOA matter." "Actually," said Margaret Wong, the board secretary, "as a homeowner and the victim of the alleged crimes, Mr. Morrison has every right to speak." I stepped forward, a folder in hand. "Board members, Ms. Hutchinson's actions have exposed the HOA to significant legal liability. Forging documents in the HOA's name, conducting illegal surveillance, and filing false police reports could result in lawsuits that would drain our reserve funds. Objection!" Beverly yelled as if the room were a courtroom. I continued. "Furthermore, I've prepared a cease and desist letter regarding her harassment, and my attorney will be filing a civil suit for defamation, trespassing, and intentional infliction of emotional distress." The board members exchanged anxious glances. Harold cleared his throat. "Beverly, in light of these developments, I move for an immediate vote of no confidence in your presidency." "Seconded," Margaret said quickly. The vote was unanimous. 5 board members, 5 votes for removal. Beverly's shoulders sagged. "You can't do this," she whispered, eyes glassy. The pool initiative was going to be my legacy. "Your legacy," Harold said, "will be the new HOA bylaws we'll write to make sure this never happens again." Beverly gathered her things. Her hands trembling, color-coded binders clutched to her chest like a life vest. Before she could leave, I spoke up one last time. "For what it's worth," I said, "I'll be hosting a pool party this Saturday. Board members and neighbors are welcome. It's BYOB, and yes, it's invitation only." The room burst into nervous laughter. Beverly fled without another word. The following week, the district attorney's office officially charged her with 3 felonies and 2 misdemeanors. Her lawyer managed to negotiate a plea deal, 2 years probation, a $5,000 fine, and 300 hours of community service. The judge also issued a restraining order prohibiting her from coming within 100 feet of my property. When the sentence was read aloud, Beverly broke down in the courtroom. 2 years. $5,000? But I was trying to help the community. The judge's voice was calm but firm. "Ma'am, forging government documents to seize someone's private property isn't community service. It's a crime." Beverly's sobs echoed through the courtroom as the bailiff escorted her out to complete her probation paperwork. And as I left the courthouse that day, I couldn't help but smile at the thought that, for once, justice had finally cooled down the HOA queen's burning sense of entitlement.